Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all doing great and that you're all having a great day. I just woke up. I literally just woke up, so I don't even know where I currently am at the moment. So if I sound at all insane at any point during the video, I literally just got up, so I don't know what's going on. Don't forget to do stuff. Don't forget to leave a comment. Make sure you leave a like. It helps out the video, it helps out the channel, and it does stuff. And without any further ado, let's jump right into it. I'm sure I'll get better as the video goes on. I think my cognitive functions will fall in line. Right. We are, if you've missed any of the last few videos, the analysts are saying that we are currently in the middle, we're in it. We're in the bull market, the bull season, altcoin season, according to analysts, and their charts have completely kicked off, begun. We're getting a lot of aspirational news in a multitude of ways about where the market is going to go. Predictions are around a $400,000, $500,000. Those are kind of like the wackier ones right now for Bitcoin. We're seeing a lot of $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 things for predictions for Ethereum, as it is expected that Ethereum's ascent in price is going to ascend every other coin right along with it. We're still getting a large amount of companies who are announcing that they're in the market, entering the market, want more coins. Everyone has some kind of a really weird time frame as well. Not weird, but okay, where every new company is now announcing we're in the market, but by this date, we want to have this much crypto. By that date, we want to have this much. And I don't know if it's meant to be a hypey thing or something aspirational, but everyone has a certain date and time as to when they want to be richer in a specific coin. A company by the name of Matador Technologies, a Canadian Bitcoin solutions firm, has unveiled an ambitious plan, of course, because everyone has a lot of ambition. An ambitious plan to acquire up to 6,000 BTC by the year 2027, aiming to secure 1% of Bitcoin's total supply. I don't know math that good, but is 1% 6,000 Bitcoin? I feel like the number, wouldn't it be 21,000 Bitcoin or something like that, unless they're going off of another metric in some sort of way? 21,210,000. No, I'm right. It would definitely be 21,000 Bitcoin. So I'm not really sure where 6,000 is coming from. Also, just based off of time and logic. If you missed it, this isn't the first company who has this kind of time frame for some reason. I mean, I assume they're not giving us all 2028, 2029, 2030 predictions as to how much Bitcoin that they want to have. But if Bitcoin keeps going up, it becomes far more difficult, obviously, to be able to acquire more Bitcoin for the US dollar amount or the Canadian dollar amount that you were thinking of putting in. So if you have an aspiration of 1,000 Bitcoin and you have 3, well, guess what? Time is actually running out because the price keeps on going up. If you want 6,000, unless they're going for some absolutely massive purchase in the short term, it gets a lot more difficult. That's what I was saying before with MetaMask? Mommy Mask. What's the name of that thing? The one with the Meta Planet. I was close. I was halfway there. Meta Planet They announced they won 210,000. Isn't that 10% of all the Bitcoin? No, wait, 9% of all the either way, it's a huge amount of Bitcoin that they won. And I don't think it's going to be like, you can't really do it if prices keep going up. It says the company's strategy includes a $900 million Canadian financing prospectus and a multifaceted approach combining treasury accumulation with operational integration within the Bitcoin ecosystem. Wait, no, I'm right. 21,210,000. Is that not 10%? No. 2.1 million would be 10%. So 210,000 would be 1%. I don't think you're going to be able to make it, buddy. If you're trying to get 210,000 Bitcoin by 2027, I just feel like it's not. Especially with 900 million. 900 million is a huge amount of money, but Bitcoin keeps having bigger numbers. It says Matador Technologies targets 6,000 Bitcoin acquisition by 2027, leveraging a 900 million Canadian dollar financing plan to build a robust treasury and ecosystem presence. Yeah, I mean, you and like 900 other companies at this point. Matador Technologies has accelerated its Bitcoin accumulation strategy with a clear objective to hold 1% of all Bitcoin by 2020. Am I going crazy? It keeps saying it over and over. Okay, stop. Listen. Okay, stop. Accelerated Bitcoin accumulation strategy with a clear objective to hold 1% of Bitcoin's total supply. It says translating to 6,000 Bitcoin by 2007. Either I can't count or they can't count. 1 per 21 million, 2.1 million, 210,000. Even if you said 21,000, is that not, that's less than 1 per, I feel like I'm completely losing something. They want 1,000 Bitcoin by 2026. They're currently holding 77 Bitcoin valued at $9 million. I don't know what the fudge is going on, but some of these numbers are clearly completely off. So cool. They have 77 Bitcoin. They're trying to raise 900 million is absolutely insane. They're trying to raise $900 million to buy more Bitcoin. I assume they're going to get there in some sort of way, but that's not how numbers work. So cool. We got another new company announcing Bitcoin stuff, and just logically speaking, they're probably going to make it to like 2, 3, 4, 5,000. But then that's, I don't know, unless they come up with a way to raise like $28 billion, they're also like several 100,000 Bitcoin off. That's the Matador Technologies. Can't count or no, because the article says it like 9 times. Like, let's be completely honest. Like, this is all over the place. Like, am I missing something? Okie dokie. All right. Let's move on. All right, so here's an even weirder one. So remember, this was like 2020 or 2021. There was a situation where we had started to begin to hear about countries who were adopting Bitcoin and announcing that Bitcoin was going to be their not reserve currency, but like it also gained legal status. If I remember correctly in some sort of way, the first one was El Salvador. So El Salvador, here's the story. The story that we got is that El Salvador was having economic woes. And at some point, someone convinced them, told them, had a conversation with them to adopt Bitcoin as legal tender within their country, and it would bring newfound wealth to them or something like that. There's, at least 35 different documentaries on YouTube you can watch that have sprouted up over the last couple of years, literally with like people going there with cameras and finding vendors selling peanuts on the street and accepting Lightning Network. It sounds like a joke. It's not. And they were talking about how economically prosperous the country had become since Bitcoin or something like that. So then we heard, I want to say last year, time is flying by, We heard sometime last year that apparently El Salvador was in talks with the International Monetary Fund for a gigantic loan. The exact number, I don't remember, but it was meant to keep their country afloat. Once again, this is the news that we as the public received. Part of the contingency we heard for the actual loan to El Salvador was that they could not buy any more Bitcoin, as we had heard that El Salvador was mining Bitcoin and apparently buying a Bitcoin per day. That's the news that we got, and I remember it well because around like February or something, we heard news that they bought like 7 Bitcoin, and people were angry because they said, it sounds stupid, but that's the way the world works. They said 1 a day. They got more than their 1 a day, and people were like, you can't do that, you lied. So then the news came out that apparently El Salvador had broken some sort of a rule because according to the terms of their agreement with the International Monetary Fund, they could not buy any more Bitcoin. However, it kept on being reported that they had been buying Bitcoin in some kind of a defiant manner. If you weren't here for the news, even if you were, do you remember? It was like everywhere. People were like, yeah, they're showing it to the man. That kind of thing where people were like, despite what the International Monetary Fund has said, El Salvador continues to accumulate Bitcoin. So imagine my surprise when this made really some of the most popular news that we've had in a while. It says, since the agreement with the International Monetary Fund on the loan program in December 2024, apparently the government of El Salvador has not made any additional cryptocurrency purchases, which is the exact opposite of what they told us they were doing. This information comes from a report published by the international organization. So, the International Monetary Fund told El Salvador, you can't buy any more Bitcoin if you want this loan from us. El Salvador then said, cool, we're not going to buy any more Bitcoin, and then they got the loan from the International Monetary Fund. Around the same exact time, El Salvador kept on reporting daily, because they're supposed to be buying 1 Bitcoin per day, that they were buying 1 Bitcoin per day. And now the International Monetary Fund has published a report that says the exact opposite, that El Salvador, in essence, was fibbing, and that they haven't purchased any new Bitcoin because it would have violated the terms of the loan agreement. Here's the actual tweet that caused a bit of a stir right here. It's in Spanish. I'm not in the mood to sound anything out right now. My brain isn't even remotely there. But, right. So, the letter states that El Salvador's public sector Bitcoin holdings have not changed. Attached documents note that the country's hot and cold wallets have been handed over to the International Monetary Fund for auditing and monitoring purposes. So, right, even right here, the statement clearly contradicts previous statements made by the president, which claimed that 1 Bitcoin has been purchased daily since November 2022. They claim that they have approximately 6,242 Bitcoin worth around 737 Bitcoin. Analytics firm Arkham apparently also provided on-chain data confirming daily transfers of 1 Bitcoin from wallets labeled Binance and Bitfinex. So somebody's lying, and I wonder really what... So this was... Oddly enough, this wasn't treated as negative or positive news. I really think a lot of people don't know what to do with this news. The idea that someone might have been lying in some sort of way, I think kind of scared people. I have my own feelings and opinions on this. I'm going to assume, now here's the kicker. I'm going to assume that the International Monetary Fund here is telling the truth just because they're the International Monetary Fund and they gain absolutely nothing from lying. What they also gain is being able to take that loan money back, and then the money that was already taken having to be paid back with extra interest. So, blah, 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 blah. Something weird is going on. But yeah, like I said, this was actually, the word's not popular. It was all over the placey kind of news, and that mainly has to do with the fact that something's a little weird here. That's somebody's lying, and I guess we'll figure it out at some point. Okay, let's move on. Companies and organizations need to just sit down and please stop, for the love of God, because it just keeps getting worse and worse. We have constantly been presented with the news that stablecoins are going to change the world. Stablecoins are going to be the thing that brings us into a new utopia. Stablecoins are going to save us from whatever is currently happening with the dollar. We're going to get discounts from stablecoins, and they're going to be the new economic structure. If you happened to miss a slew of videos from the last 2 weeks, since that stablecoin bill and Genius bill and Clarity bill and Macarena bill got signed from America, a lot of the news has focused around Ethereum. There's a lot of rumors that banks, companies, organizations are going to be building on top of Ethereum, their stable coins, and how stable, really, it sounds stupid because it kind of is. No one is asking for this except for companies, institutions, and banks who think that they can make as much money as Tether has been making from stable coins. There's some kind of disgusting, weird fascination from getting away from everything, keeping the old system, but just having stable coins. It's really weird. I just saw an article, maybe you can find it. It was something, the title was like, why stable coins are a wolf in sheep's clothing and are very close to central bank digital currencies. And I was like, no, they are. They're not close to them. Stable coins are literally just central bank digital currencies. It's just that they use the word stable coin. You know, when people are creating propaganda for stuff, they actually do public testing. A lot of people don't know that. And they try to see if the public reacts differently to certain ways. So let's say I have something called like the mega paper cut. And I asked the public to tell me how they feel about that. Odds are they're not going to want to deal with a mega paper cut. But what if I called it like thin paper bonanza? People were like, oh, that sounds a little bit fun, a little bit more, but it does the exact same thing. These are literally just centralized, digitized version of the US dollar. Instead of actually just being controlled by the United States, they're now going to be controlled by hundreds of different companies who are going to be stepping on each other's toes to try and get you to believe that this is the new wave of the future. And this is why we've seen Visa and MasterCard the last few years tripping over themselves, trying to get into the cryptocurrency stablecoin, whatever space. They have come to some sort of conclusion. My eyelashes will not stop. It's so ridiculous. I bat my eye, like 4 eyelashes fall into my eye. I don't understand. Oh gosh, this is so frustrating. So the news says stable coins are charging into the financial mainstream as regulatory clarity, institutional infrastructure, and MasterCard-backed tools converge to unlock scalable, secure, and frictionless global digital payments. What kind of nonsense? You know how much stupidity I see in the news now with people constantly writing stuff like this? You know that for those of you who are out there, you know that if you have like a news program or platform, you don't always have to kiss someone's feet. You know that, right? You know that stable coins are a terrible idea, and you don't have to try and trick people into believing that this is going to unlock some kind of a new, like, it's just complete nonsense. Nobody wants or needs stable coins, and even the stable coins that we have now, they're adequate enough. People in crypto need stable coins when they're actually day trading to be able to swap back into something stable, as opposed to going into another crypto that might be popping up and down, whatever the case might be. This isn't going to make frictionless global payments. We're going to see hundreds of these things popping up. The only way that would remotely make them lightly frictionless is if they were all built on top of Ethereum. Even then, you'd still have to do a coin swap between these different coins. You know that's how it works, right? You know how like all the coins on top of Ethereum, you can't snap your finger and just use them. You would literally have to be like, okay, I need this stable coin. I need that stable coin. These things are so centralized, it's absolutely terrifying. These companies will. It's no longer a matter of your bank being able to be like, all right, freeze their account. You're now going to have that across hundreds of companies who are going to have mistakes in their systems that are going to show that you bought the something that they didn't want you to buy, or you were transacting on something that they didn't want you to transact on, or you so and so and so, or you got a lower rating on your Uber and all these other things, and they will freeze your money. Every single website keeps reporting that this is going to be some kind of new utopia that's going to be unlocked. Nobody wants this. Nobody's asking for this. Like, answer me. How many of you are desperately, actively waiting to use stable coins? It is the same exact thing that you are already using with your bank account when you tap or swipe your card, except these will be owned by individual companies. There will be a Facebook coin. There will be an Uber coin. There's going to be an Amazon coin. There's going to be a MasterCard coin. There's going to be a Visa coin. There's already a PayPal coin. It says a coordinated global regulatory shift and institutional investment in infrastructure are accelerating stablecoins towards mainstream adoption. And that's only because the people who rule the world for some reason want this to happen, because they think that they can actually get more money out of the system by making sure that you pay additional transaction fees directly to these individual companies. Anyway, without having to go any further, this was, of course, very popular news as well. I don't know how people get brainwashed so very, very quickly. The entire point of cryptocurrencies has nothing to do with stablecoins. It has nothing to do with decentralization. These are the exact opposite of anything that has to do with like fairness or freedom. This is only going to give corporations more control over your money in every single possible way that they could ever imagine. So we keep getting a large wave of stablecoin news. I'm going to assume that you have a brain and none of you are hankering to use a stablecoin, to have to shift your money from your bank account onto an app and swap it into a stablecoin and then use it solely onto that platform because the transaction happens 3.5 seconds quicker than it could have before. So yeah, as crypto continues to take over, and cryptocurrencies, for those of you who are lightly confused, are things that are decentralized and that are permissionless. Tether is not a cryptocurrency. It is not decentralized, and neither of any of these stable coins going to be. We're seeing the corporatization and institutionalization of this entire space. So for those of you who actually care about your money, and I dare say the word freedom in any sort of way, pay attention to actual coins that aren't controlled by and created by corporations. A lot of stablecoin news going around. I think that's going to do it for this video, everybody. I do hope that you've all enjoyed. I do hope you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope it is absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting, and I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.